We made it back from SEMA. The Eclipse is back. It was an awesome week. The car crushed. Everyone loved it. Now we have some minor things we need to do maintenance-wise to the 4G6. We need to retorque the head studs and we need to change the engine oil.
You got the real deal.
Where'd you get that?
No, this is it. This is what we drive.
That was the car we had at SEMA?
Yeah, we just put it back in the box.
Not that one? No. All right.
No, don't show that. We put it back in the box. Can you fit in there, bud?
Yeah.
Ricky would put the seat, right?
Close the door right.
Alright, so today's gonna be pretty straightforward. Pull the valve cover off, retorque all the head studs, change the oil. It's common practice after installing a set of ARP head studs to go back through and retorque it just to make sure everything stayed tight through the first few heat cycles the engine went through. We've run this engine actually a lot since we assembled it. Since going to SEMA, taxiing it around SEMA, and just kind of farting around the shop, this engine's been running quite a lot, so it's had quite a few heat cycles go through it. So we're gonna go in, make sure everything's nice and tight, change the oil, and we'll be good. Alright, so I just finished retorquing our head studs. Pretty common procedure after installing a set of ARP studs. We only had one that had a little bit of give to it. All the rest of them were pretty much tight, which is really good. Usually when I use these and I do a straight 6, I usually have like 1 or 2 that are a little bit loose. And it's not like these bolts back out. On occasion, they don't hold their tightness properly. So it's always good for them to just come back and recheck, which is good. Our valve train is still looking supreme. You can see on the cam lobes where the rollers on the rockers are actually making contact on the cam, which is good. There's a little bit of assembly lube just kind of splattered around. So now we're gonna change the oil, get all that stuff out of there. So we got the cylinder head studs retorqued. Now it's time to change our oil and filter. So we've had probably about 7 or 8 hours of runtime on this engine, you think, Mick? Somewhere close to that, if not more. He's running quite a bit.
It's probably about that. I wouldn't say more.
Typically when you break in an engine, you want to keep the engine oil in for a little while because with the break-in oil and the assembly lube, the engine will wear itself. So the piston rings are going to wear match against the cylinder bores, and so usually you'll have a ton of kind of like sparkly metal coming off of the cylinder walls and the rings, and everything's just kind of setting in. So I would not be surprised if we had a little bit of shimmer. For all the engines that I built, we usually have shimmer for the first about 2 oil changes usually. So we're going to see how bad this one is. I don't think it's going to be that bad because the oil in the head looked actually super clean, so let's knock it out.
What's going on, guys? I'm officially taking over this vlog, and I realized a couple things as we were filming this stuff today. Is that one, a lot of people who have not seen the Eclipse build on our channel may not know what this car is. So I want to take a quick minute and just do a quick summary of that. So this is our 1998 Eclipse GSX. This is the all-wheel drive version of the Eclipse. That is not what was in the original movie car. So the original movie car was a front-wheel drive, naturally aspirated car, and we felt like that if Paul Walker owned this car today, this is the trim that he would like. The all-wheel drive, 5-speed manual, 4G63 engine. Now, this one we actually built on our channel. Quinn tore this thing apart, forged pistons and rods from JE. We did Brian Crower, everything in the head, and this thing is geared up to make a lot of power. I'll pop the hood in just a second. Moving on, we actually have the same Kawasaki green that was done by Biggie's Customs and a very subtle but clean wide body kit from Carbonetix. This is a relatively small company, but I'm super stoked with how it turned out. So the front fender is a complete fender replacement. The rear is an over fender, as you can see. We also have the Carbonetix rear CSL style trunk with the exposed carbon right here, if you guys can see that. And the APR swan neck wing, which is chassis mounted. And I'll pop the trunk in just a second so you can see that. The rear end here is a RE style rear diffuser that Mickey made all the bracketry for, which looks super badass. And we cut the bumper up pretty high just so you could see how industrial and how business the back end of this car is. So we have an NDD rear subframe, STM 3-inch exhaust. We have Vi-Air compressors, 2 of them for the air suspension, and those are exposed and mounted upside down under here. So pretty freaking radical on the back. Hopefully you guys can see that. I'm super stoked with how that turned out. These are HRE 3-piece wheels with Falcon Azenis RT660 tires. We have some Mishimoto lug nuts in there, and one of my favorite touches from the HRE wheels are the carbon fiber center caps. Rear brakes are EBC slotted rotors with EBC pads, and we just refinished everything in the wheel well. Pretty much everything is either new or refinished. Moving along here, we've got the Carbonetix side skirt extensions, and in the front, we didn't go with the stock brakes. We actually went with a Willwood big brake kit, and we had the color to match the rest of the blue decals on the car. So really special, really high performing brake setup in the front. Let me go ahead and pop the hood and I'll show you guys what's underneath. So one thing I forgot to mention also is this is the Carbonetix AR style vented carbon fiber hood, and we have the original Modern Image graphics on this car. So that's what you can see, the MI, that is Modern Image, and that was on Paul Walker's car from the original Fast and Furious as well. So as I mentioned earlier, you know, this is a fully built engine. So besides the internals, we have an FP Red turbo, we have a JMF intake manifold, JMF fuel rail, fuel injector clinic, 1650cc injectors, Greddy blow-off valve, Haltech coil-on plug. We have a ohm racing harness, which is pretty awesome because you can almost not see it because it's hidden and tucked super nicely. Boost in fabrication engine mount kit that comes with the trans mount as well as all the other engine mounts. That turned out really clean. We have Dime PSI AN lines throughout, and of course an Optima battery in the back. We've got a JD Customs titanium badge that was made custom for this car, which is pretty cool. And we've got a D-Schwartz fuel pressure regulator and a D-Schwartz fuel pump in the back. We made all of the intercooler piping in-house, and everything has the Mishimoto quick release clamps on it, as well as a Mishimoto catch can. So one other thing to note, which you can't really see, is we are running an Action Stage 3.5 clutch and a ACT flywheel in this car. So this setup should be good for north of 500 wheel horsepower, depending on how we tune it and how aggressive we go. Maybe we can go a little bit more. I'm not too sure. Maybe you guys can chime in. I'm sure there's a lot of DSM experts who are watching this, but I think it's a pretty reliable, proven setup, and I think it's gonna make a decent amount of power. One thing I didn't talk about was the interior. I do have a couple things disassembled here because we were doing some stuff with the tuning. Carbonetix airbag delete. We have a KDN Boostin performance shifter with the staging brake. We do need to finish this. We have AccuAir E-level system. And one thing that's really neat is we have 2 NOS tanks in the back. Right here, this one right here is actual nitrous oxide that will be fully functional once we get it tuned. And then this right here is our air tank. So this is our air tank for the AccuAir system. and the universal air struts. And it's pretty trick that really all we had to do is modify that top piece. The tank remains intact, nothing else changed. Now, I guess while we're back here, we've got a DC Sports rear strut bar, and Ricky built this really cool subwoofer enclosure. So we have a kicker, 10-inch sub in the back, kicker amp, and then a custom floor panel that you can see. The other thing you can see here is how the chassis mount wing goes directly all the way to the chassis. Pretty buff bars back there, so that thing is really solid. On the inside here, we have the Sparco QRT Performance leather and suede seats with Sparco harnesses and a Sparco steering wheel that's in suede that has 2 buttons here. One is for the nitrous purge, but we figured that was kind of symbolic from the movie, so we wanted to put the decals on there. And this right here is also something that's really special. Just like in Fast and Furious, lots of gears, lots of shifting, so I thought that was, Mickey came up with that idea. I think that's really, really funny. Pioneer head unit, I think that's it. I probably missed a decent amount. Oh, we've got an auto power roll bar. There's probably a laundry list of things that I forgot, but overall, pretty much every nut and bolt has been replaced on this car and fixed. And for me, this car is so important to me personally for, you know, really inspiring me to be a car enthusiast, and I think also the rest of the guys on the team I know as well. So Mickey and I specifically have been talking about building this car or a similar version of this car for many years now, and I'm just super stoked. I think it turned out amazing. Everyone chipped in and everyone did a fantastic job on this car, and it shows. We brought this thing to SEMA and people loved it as much as we did, and that means a lot, and that makes it all worth it. So if you're just tuning in, or if you watch the entire build, we are going to be doing a building an Eclipse in 15 minutes. That is going to be coming out within the next probably 1 to 2 weeks or so. Plan is to get this thing out on the track, so we got to get it dyno tuned. Now it's officially ready. And then after the dyno tuning session, we're gonna get out on the track, and I hope you guys will stick with us for that. But before we end today's episode, there's one other thing that I think a lot of you guys might be waiting for, which is actually some engine noises from this car. So we were in such a rush before SEMA, we never even showed you guys that. So let me go grab Victor and we'll film a little startup and some revving just so you can hear this thing. Get this thing on the dyno ASAP. All right guys, that is going to do it for today's YouTube video. I hope it wasn't too much of a believe me, I want to drive this car as much as you guys want to see it. But if you want to, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you stay up to date because we have some new episodes coming out for this, as well as all the other builds in the next couple of days. So remember, get those orders in for Black Friday through Cyber Monday. They are our deepest discounts of the year. And we're doing 2x entries on all purchases to win the GTR. So for every $1 you spent, you get 2 entries. And if you're a VIP member, you're actually gonna get 10 entries for every $1 spent on our site. So that's it guys. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.